Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and I would just like to pause for a minute and remind you what we were promised after the Black Lives Matter riots. We were told time and time again by each and every single institution that excused the violence, that excused the most destructive rioting in American history, that this was about racial healing, that this was going to put our country forward, and no longer were we going to be reliant on the outdated model of policing and hold criminals accountable or anything just ridiculous and again outdated like that. We were going to move on to this new community-oriented approach. We were going to reimagine law enforcement, and we were going to have all of these diversion programs that would be put into place that would make us realize we don't even need the police or prisons or anything like that. And while we often talk about crime exploding, all these different various problems across the country, what happens when your police department ends up losing officers and you can't enforce basic things, one of the things that we don't talk about as much beyond Black Lives Matter, the organization stealing millions of dollars, is the fact that when you subvert this money and put it in the hands of nonprofits who have this veneer of virtue, they end up stealing the money. And a perfect example of this is the city of San Francisco that set up this program, or actually was giving money to a thing called San Francisco Safe, because now the head of the organization has been arrested for embezzling $700,000 for profiting personally on this. And I can't help but imagine that if this wasn't headed up by a strong black woman who was going to fight against the evil white racism in the criminal justice system, then maybe, just maybe, somebody would have been a little bit suspicious earlier. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
So when you go to the website of the now defunct San Francisco Safe and you go to their services, you realize that each and everything that they promised that they were given the taxpayer dollars in order to address has essentially gotten significantly worse since the time that we were funneling money to this organization. Let me give you a breakdown, and remember, we're talking about the city of San Francisco. So from the top, we have the Neighborhood Watch, which of course is supposed to help the safe neighborhoods. Nothing wrong with the Neighborhood Watch. Then we have personal safety, home security, business security. This is the big red flag right here, where they're supposed to help the businesses deal with all the problems of crime, child safety, and of course Park Smart, which is meant to help you park smartly and safely in the city of San Francisco, which has become the car breaking capital of the entire nation.
Former executive director of a San Francisco nonprofit has been arrested. She's accused of stealing public funds.
Now, to be fair to San Francisco Safe, if we're being perfectly honest, even if the money wasn't stolen, even if it wasn't embezzled, and they decided that they were going to put the money into these community-led efforts, when you have a district attorney who isn't willing to prosecute anyone for anything, a state that bends over backwards to aid the criminal rather than actually help the victims, there's nothing a nonprofit can do in that scenario anyway. So I can see somebody looking at this, realizing that theft is the way to go in the state of California, especially in the city of San Francisco, and saying, you know what, I'm gonna get my piece of the pie and rob the taxpayer dollars directly. And that appears to be exactly what went down right here.
San Francisco's district attorney investigators say the money was meant to help fight crime.
So first things first, you guys know I love local news, but I do have to ask a very important question. Is this man on the left really short, or is that woman on the right very tall? I don't know. It's hard for me to tell when it comes to television. You guys think about that. Let me know your answer down in the comments before we move into this story.
My name is Kyra Worthy. I'm the executive director of San Francisco Safe.
San Francisco's district attorney's office investigators have arrested Kyra Worthy, the fired head of the now defunct SF Safe, a nonprofit that once partnered with the San Francisco Police Department.
It's so embarrassing to look at this person who's accused of this crime of stealing the taxpayer dollars right next to the mayor of San Francisco, the San Francisco police, and all these different various political figures in the city of San Francisco. But to be fair, the difference between ordinary theft and embezzlement is that you have to be in a position of trust in order to embezzle an employee or some kind of recipient of funds. So I understand that you're going to have a lot of images like this, but how many times do we have to see these absolute crooks next to the very same Democratic politicians politicians who, through their policies, enable these people.
The DA's office has leveled 34 felony charges related to the misuse and embezzlement of close to $750,000, an alleged subsequent cover-up, and wage theft. Worthy was fired from SF Safe in January after an audit.
Now, while I said it is absolutely embarrassing to see this person next to all these different various politicians, this image right here, I'm absolutely in love with. Here you have the Black Lives Matter shirt in frame with her, you have the COVID mask, everything you need to know about this person in one image, where they're coming from politically, and again, how they ended up getting to that position of trust in order to subvert money from the police department in order to steal it from the taxpayer. And of course, she was spending it completely selfishly on herself. This was a graft, this was a theft for personal gain, which honestly is a little bit embarrassing on her part that she only got to steal $700,000 plus because Black Lives Matter, the organization, incinerated millions, and they still haven't gotten the full consequences of their actions. But yeah, this is who this person is. This is where she's coming from. We all understand it. And again, she was emboldened and able to get away with this because she always had the I'm a black woman card. And if you ever question me, you're an evil white racist. So shut up with your evil white racism.
The organization closed its doors after nearly 50 years of service.
Now, this is where things actually get kind of sad because this wasn't a pop-up overnight kind of organization. San Francisco Safe, with its previous missions that were not Black Lives Matter oriented, ended up being an organization that was around for 50 years, and now it's gone. It is defunct. This woman, as the executive director, through her theft, completely obliterated the thing. So before, when they actually used to engage in things that maybe help the community, that's all gone. It was taken over by woke ideology, and that was used as a mechanism in order to steal from the taxpayer. Now it's completely gone, and this thing that probably did at one point in time in its history help the community set up neighborhood watches is absolutely gone.
The DA's office is accusing Worthy of squandering $500,000 and using another $100,000 on personal expenses, including $90,000 for a home healthcare nurse for her parents in North Carolina.
Now, to me, this is amazing on a couple of levels. First of all, just incinerating $500,000 with no real record of it is one thing, but the fact that she got away with putting up $90,000 for a nurse to care for her parents in the state of North Carolina for an organization that's called San Francisco Safe is the height of absurdity. Now, I've never run a nonprofit, I've never worked for a nonprofit or anything like that, but I have interacted with nonprofits through the course of this channel, one in particular, and one of the things that I learned very quickly when dealing with the accounting department is that even if it's supposed to be the most direct expense that they promise to pay for, the fact of the matter is, without receipts, without invoices, without justification, they did not in any way, shape, or form turn over a dime to somebody like me. Again, even if it was reimbursement for a flight that they asked me to take because they wanted me to be at an event. This is how nonprofits typically work, because under normal circumstances, when you don't have the veneer of the woke to protect you from all criticism, you not only can face fines and fees and all kinds of issues like that, but you can lose your nonprofit status and eventually face criminal charges. But this organization, $90,000 gets chucked right out the door of taxpayer money that should be double accountable because A, it's in a nonprofit, and B, it comes from the taxpayers. So there should be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, is able to go for an in-home nurse in North Carolina. It's absolute madness in every possible way. Absolute insanity. And again, it is nowhere representative of a solid nonprofit that follows the rules and my limited interactions with them.
President of the Board of Supervisors, Aaron Peskin, called for an audit more than a year ago, worried that something wasn't adding up.
Incidents like this vastly erode public trust, which is precisely why I have formulated an inspector general to give our controller the powers that they haven't had up until now, the power of subpoena, the power of search warrant, and that's going to be on this November's ballot.
Here you have a guy who knew what was going on, knew it was suspicious, called for an audit for well over a year, but unfortunately didn't have the power in order to investigate them. The inspector general didn't have subpoena power or anything like that, which to me is patently absurd and ridiculous. And of course, because it's the state of California, everything has to get done via ballot initiative rather than the legislature actually legislating. So it's also frustrating that after a story like this, rather than being able to pass a law, they have to put it up for a vote and for the residents of San Francisco to go through all these different various ballot initiatives in order to figure out which ones are useful versus useless.
The mayor's office released a statement saying, quote, "The mayor has been focused on creating greater accountability for city departments and nonprofits. She appreciates the district attorney's office work in this case and believes it's important that everyone knows they cannot violate the public trust by taking actions such as stealing, embezzling, or any other illegal activity."
Now look, that is a perfectly fine statement for Mayor London Breed to issue after these revelations, but the fact of the matter is, it's completely untrue. This is small potatoes compared to what goes on in the state of California. $700,000, that is chump change compared to what has been stolen through the homeless industrial complex. We still have to do a giant breakdown of the nearly $25 billion that was absolutely incinerated in order to fight homelessness in California, a lot of which is funneled to nonprofits, a lot of which ended up in the pockets of politically connected people, because the fact of the matter is, not being accountable for the taxpayer purse is a feature in California government, not a bug. But you know what? This is where we are as of right now. This is what the residents of California and San Francisco have gotten used to, and in a lot of ways, they put themselves in this particular position. I'm sure they were absolutely over the moon to have a large black woman running San Francisco Safe, an institution for 50 years. Well, guess what? She ran it into the ground because you didn't check the content of her character.
The San Francisco Police Department released a short statement as well, reading, quote, "The SFPD thanks the district attorney's office for its thorough investigation and diligent work on this case."
And that's the real sad part about this, because not only have you eroded the trust further in the city of San Francisco government, which, by the way, it should have been eroded away a long time ago, but you've also robbed the citizens of an organization that had been around for damn near 50 years based on the actions of one incredibly corrupt nonprofit director. And I can only imagine if they audited this thing a year ago, like this representative, like this supervisor wanted, maybe, just maybe, the organization could have been salvaged. But you know what? It's gone now. It's over, and we have yet another story of corruption in the Bay Area. But hey, those are just my thoughts, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness in the city of San Francisco. Till next time.